Thank you so much for having me. As I get logged into my computer, I want to just shout out Community Media Center. It's actually where I did my internship in undergrad and utilized a lot of their resources up until the pandemic. So definitely utilize them. Okay, so I want to share this story with you. I was in 9th grade, a freshman in high school, and a teacher called me to the front of the class, and she told me, "You need to drop out of high school, get pregnant, and get on welfare. Because there's no way you're going to graduate high school, let alone get in college." Wow. That was a monumental moment in my life, where a teacher basically told me I was stupid. I share that story with you for 2 reasons. 1, shock effect, right? Why would a teacher say that to a student? And 2, because I want to make sure I have your attention. Today's topic is monumental. And when I thought about it, I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? It's kind of like big. So I decided to share my story. So today we're going to go through a couple of monumental moments in my life. And I hope that they encourage you to reflect on the monumental moments in yours. But before we go there, let's talk a little bit about what monumental can mean, or at least what it means to me. It means taking up space. It means it can be historic or notable, can have impact or lasting value. Purpose. So my purpose, as Kelly read, that it is to inspire individuals to live authentically. And I get to do that in so many different ways. When I learned that my purpose and my passion were connected, and I get to use photography to capture beautiful moments of people, I knew that I was on the right path. The first time I took a picture of someone and they looked at it and they said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know I can be that beautiful. How did you do that? What kind of camera do you use?" Because of course it couldn't be my talent, right? It had to be the camera. But that's the day that I knew that I found my purpose. That's the day that was a monumental moment where I knew that I was living out my true authentic self. Now, as creatives, we know this journey is frustrating. We get more no's than yeses. We have creative blocks, and sometimes things just don't work out the way that we want them to. But I want to encourage you to think about monumental moments that keep you focused in your passion. For me, it's taking dope pictures of people and pushing past when people tell me no. So, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids about 5 years ago. And the reason why this is a monumental moment in my life is because I had to fight for my doctor to figure out what was wrong with me. She kept saying, "You're being dramatic. You're not in that much pain. This is your diagnosis." And I knew something was wrong, something was bigger. After talking to a friend who also had fibroids, she was like, "You should get an ultrasound and see what's going on in your body." And come to find out, not only did I have fibroids, I have multiple, like the size of a pea to the size of a small watermelon. They can cause severe pain and even infertility. But I'll spare you the details on what the female anatomy goes through. During that time, it taught me how to advocate for myself. It taught me how to speak up when I saw something that was wrong. It taught me what it means to go after injustices in the world. And I know it's kind of weird, getting a diagnosis and then going after injustices, but they connect, and here's why. An estimated 25% of African American women suffer from fibroids by the age of 25. 80 to 90% of them will have some type of significant hurdle with fibroids by the age of 50. Black women suffer with fibroids at an earlier age and are 2 to 3 times more likely to undergo surgery. That means on top of fighting for regular health, now we're even fighting for reproductive health. And that was a monumental moment for me that taught me that I need to advocate for myself and then in turn teach others how to advocate for themselves. My favorite topic, faith. Faith is complete trust or confidence in someone or something. One of my favorite scriptures is Matthew 5:16. "Let your light so shine amongst others so that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." And that's how I choose to live out my faith. Confidence in God, confidence in myself, and hopefully giving that confidence back to others. And I want you to take a moment and think about, where does your faith lie? No, I'm serious. Think about that for a second. Where does your faith lie? Is it in God? Is it in yourself? Is it in family or friends? Is it in the work that you do? Is it in your community involvement? Where do you put your full confidence in that allows you to have monumental moments and to share those with others? So, I have a story for you. Yesterday, I was sitting in Starbucks, working remote, because the cloudy day just made me like sad. I am so sick of not seeing sunlight. Backstory, I'm from the West Coast. I grew up in California and Las Vegas. So I am used to 80-degree weather like right now. Like February, it's like 75 degrees. So it's not for me. But I was really frustrated. Why? Because like it's so gloomy, it's snowing again, and I'm just tired. So I decided to sit in Starbucks to work remote. And while scrolling on Facebook, I saw a photographer's work from a client who was gonna book me, but things didn't work out, so they booked someone else. And when I saw the images, I like broke down, because I was like, oh, I could have took those pictures. But then when I looked again, I was like, no, this is better than me. This photographer shot them in a way that I would not even thought of. And I broke down in Starbucks in tears, and I questioned, am I good enough? Am I talented enough? How the heck am I supposed to speak tomorrow? What am I gonna say to these people? Now, mind you, I had this presentation prepared for like a week, and I still was like questioning everything from the gloominess in the sun, but then also looking at somebody else's work and then thinking, man, am I worth it? And it takes me back to that story of the teacher. That was a monumental moment in my life that let self-doubt and negative self-talk enter into my life. So I have to constantly find ways to get over it, to think about the things that I have accomplished so that I can continue to move forward. Now, these are my girls. It is so important to have community. And I purposely chose this picture because recently one of our friends in this lost a family member. And we wanted to get together to just have a moment of joy and excitement. So we did a Galentine's Day shoot. And we got in the studio and played music and laughed, and I actually even recorded some YouTube content that I plan to share next month. And while sitting there and talking about the value that we have for others, I could just burst with gratitude. And this is just a small example of the community that I have built. But I think it's important for us to think about those in our lives that we are connected to. Is it family, friendships, mentors, and coaches? For me, I have a dynamic family. My parents and my brother support me in ways that are unbelievable. And I know not everybody has that. So if you don't, I encourage you to connect to friends. Create your family. Create the community of people who will encourage you and lift you up and tell you when you're wrong and tell you to calm down and to get over yourself and to pick yourself back up and to hold your hand when you have a really bad day. And then mentorship. There's literally no way I would be where I am without mentorship. Seeking out someone who has more knowledge, more understanding than me, and then pouring it into me and allowing me to pour it back into someone else. So I believe in having a mentor that mentors you, and then you mentoring down to help someone else. I think about when I first moved to Grand Rapids, and I was standing in my mentor's kitchen, once again, having a breakdown, and questioning everything. Why did I move to Grand Rapids? Nobody likes me. I'm never gonna book the gigs that I want. I'm not doing great in school, all of these things. And she looked at me and said, Aleka, where does your faith lie? Where's your confidence? Is it in God? Is it in yourself? Is it in your skills? Is it in your talents? That was a huge monumental moment in my life where I realized it is important to have people in your life that can let you have those moments of sorrow and frustration and annoyance, but then come back and say, now, you are powerful, you are dope, you are creative, you are talented, and to keep pushing forward beyond those moments. And then coaches. I believe in not only having coaches, but paying people to give you the information that they have. I have 2 coaches right now who are helping me understand the back end of my business. Because as a creative, as a photographer, it's easy to just want to shoot, right? I just want to shoot. I want to be creative. I want to have fun. I want to get in the studio and talk to people and let music play and all of those good things. But if the back end isn't working, then you won't be successful. So I believe that coaches are huge assets in our lives that can help us, continue to push forward and move forward. I want to take a moment to reflect back to that teacher who basically told me I was stupid. I am so grateful for my mother, because when I went home and told her what happened, she was like, oh no, that's not okay. Black mom came out in full force because you are not finna mess with my daughter. She was professional, went to the school. I don't remember if the teacher got suspended or whatever, semantics, I was in 9th grade. But what I do remember is my mom moving me to another school. And for context, the teacher was white, so I do feel like there's like some social dynamics that were happening. But when I moved to my new school, she was a black woman. And she sat down with me and told me, Aleka, your diagnosis of dyslexia is not gonna keep you from moving forward. I'm gonna help you move out of special ed classes, and I'm gonna get you in what they call mainstream. You are not only gonna graduate, but I'm gonna make sure you graduate with college credits that helps you that sets you up for the future. To this day, every time I go home and see Miss Wilburn, I give her a hug because she was a pivotal moment in my life to let me realize that I can move past self-doubt and the negative talk that was given to me. So I wanted you to think about that. What moments in your life allowed something negative to creep in, and then you connected it to something that was better and turned the situation around, that helped you see that you do have value, that you are worth it, and that you can move forward. There's a quote that Shannon Cohen talks about. It's about operating in the intersection of obligation and duty, need to do and want to do, need to do and what is required. And I think about that as I reflect on some of the things that I don't want to do. As an entrepreneur, I don't want to have to think about my finances. As an entrepreneur, I don't want to send out invoices and remind people to pay me. I just want to book people, get them in the studio, and make them feel powerful and dope. So sometimes I have to live in that intersection of obligation and duty and want to do and don't want to do. So also think about that. What are moments in your life that you have to push past the things that you don't want to do so that you can move forward into the things that you do want to do? Monumental accomplishments. So, yes, going back to that first story. I graduated high school with college credit, just like Ms. Wilburn said I was. And then getting to college was a long journey. My mom got sick when I was in a community, so I decided to stay home instead of moving away to school. So at the age of 24, when she was finally doing better, I moved to Grand Rapids to go to Cornerstone University. And boy, was that a struggle. Being back in school at 24, surrounded around 18-year-olds, it's not fun, I'm just telling you. Mind you, I had purchased a condo, I had traveled the world, I had all these experiences, and now I'm on campus with 17 and 18-year-olds who are, you know how we were at that age. But I think about going back to when my teacher told me to drop out of high school, to get pregnant and get on welfare, because there's no way that I'm gonna graduate high school, let alone college. Now, it took some time, but finally in 2018, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in journalism. And the reason why that is so important, because when I think back to that moment in 9th grade, fast forward to being 27 or something like that, and finally getting my degree, it let me know that I did not have to let those monumental moments keep me from accomplishing the goals and the desires that I had. And since then, you've seen or you've heard some of the accomplishments that I've had. Those are only because I didn't allow the negative monumental moments in my life to keep me from pushing forward. I want to encourage you to think about some of the monumental moments in your life that you can push forward. Now some takeaways. Relax, relate, release. All of these stories that I shared with you today were monumental moments in my life. And sometimes the moments can be big, and sometimes they can be small. Yesterday's moment in Starbucks was super small, but it matters. It's a part of my story, and it's a way that I am able to use as an example to push past when things are super frustrated. I want to encourage you to take a leap, to listen to that little small voice in your head or that pit in your stomach that says, I have to do this, I have to try. Another story. The pandemic starts, and I am having the worst time at work. I've worked for my company for over 12 years, and the tensions just got real uncomfortable. Now, mind you, I'm from the West Coast. I don't do West Michigan nice really well. If you ask me a question, I'm gonna answer it. So if you don't want the answer, don't ask me. And sometimes I don't necessarily do it nicely. I just say what I feel the way I feel it. And when I realize that I might have hurt someone's feelings, I go back and apologize and say, hey, let's talk about this. This is what I meant by that. But while I was at work, my boss just kept ramming into me. None of your coworkers like you. You're annoying. You get on people's nerves. You keep pushing too hard. No one wants to hear about all the things that are happening in the world. We're here to work. Super negative, constant. So after months of prayer and fasting, I decided it was time to quit my job. After I went on 5 interviews. I looked for a job for over a year, and nothing was working. But that was an example or a monumental moment in my life that I realized that this is an opportunity for me to go out and step out on faith, have full confidence in God and full confidence in myself to live out my purpose with intentionality. And I want us to take a moment to pause. This is where now you get interactive with me. If you're willing, close your eyes for a second. Think about monumental moments in your life. And I want you to tap into all 5 of your senses. Remember what's around you. What do you taste? What do you see? What do you feel? What do you hear? Is it tangible? Can you touch it? Does it smell good? Think about that for a second. Now that you have that moment in your mind, I want you to take that as an example to keep pushing forward, to push past the roadblocks or moments of frustration, or when you keep getting the no, because eventually you'll get the yes. I think about the conversation I just had in the hallway with Outfield, and I'm so grateful for my friends that came out to support me today. And the service that I have put into this community quietly for years is what's gotten me to the 50 most influential and the 40 under 40 and the Local Motion Award and all of these things. And I want to cry, but I think about that moment with my teacher who told me I was stupid. And to fast forward to be 37 years old in this room with you all, sharing my story. I wasn't supposed to cry, but here we are. So, relax, relate, release as you think about the monumental moments in your life. I'm Aleka Thrash. You can find me on social, and hopefully you have some questions for me because I would love to chat with you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, great. This is on. Can we have a little bit of house lights so that we can see for Q&A?
I want to see you.
So I would love if you, I'm going to give you, 2-3 seconds to try to think of a question if you've got one. But yes, any questions for Aleka? And you're going to have to stand up and project. We're in a theater. Use your acting voice.
And it doesn't have to be on my topic. I mean, I've done a lot of things in life, so it can be just a random question.
Creative process, how she got some awards, anything like that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Do you think that monumental people need to have monumental low points?
Absolutely. Okay, so something I didn't share today, and I usually do, so if you read anything on my blog, which is outdated, but you can still check it out, I talk about low moments a lot. I suffer from depression and severe sadness. Yesterday was the example of that moment, of just literally sitting in Starbucks, crying, doubting myself. The news goes out that I'm 50 most influential, and the first thing that I see is a negative comment. Why do the same people keep getting the same awards? Grand Rapids has a problem. Why don't they see more people out there? And I'm on that list. So the first thing I thought was, man, maybe I don't deserve it. Maybe the work that I've been doing in silence isn't worth the acknowledgement. But yes, I absolutely believe that some low points, and I think that's why I chose to share that story of what happened in 9th grade, because it's easy to talk about all the cool stuff, right? It's easy to talk about all the amazing experiences that I've had and my dope friends that hold me accountable and make me feel loved and special and cared for. But the moments that are the worst, that are the lowest, are the ones that I think we can use as building blocks to push past and move forward. And also plug for therapy, because without therapy, I don't know where I would be.
We love it. Any other questions? No? Oh, yeah, okay.
Can you talk about how you get yourself out of those lows? When yesterday at Starbucks and then here today with so much confidence, obviously that plays a huge role in who you are. How do you talk yourself out of those lows or get past that?
So specifically yesterday, I actually got on Instagram stories because, again, my purpose is to live authentically. So I got on Instagram and I shared how frustrated I was and where it came from. One, I knew it was part of the sun, or lack of sun. I'm not naive to knowing that the weather, especially for me, and I'm sure for others too, but especially as somebody who grew up on the West Coast, who's used to a lot of sunlight, that really affects me. And I recognized that. So I was like, instead of going home and working in bed or whatever, I'm intentionally gonna go out and be in public. So going to Starbucks was my choice to do that, 1. 2, I got on Instagram to share that, to be honest. Like, you guys saw the announcement, right, my followers, but like, this is what it feels like right now in this moment. So yes, this is super great news, but like right now, I feel like crap. I feel worthless. I'm questioning all the work that I've ever done. So 1, I talk about it, and I try to share it in a way that can encourage people on social. And then I call my friends or my mom or my brother, and I just like let it all out. And then also, of course, therapy. But those are the ways that I feel like, especially as Black women, because that's all I can speak for, right, is we hold a lot on our shoulders, and we hold a lot in. And I don't want to live a life where I'm holding so much on my shoulders that I can't enjoy anything. So for me, it is about reaching out for help, letting people hear that I'm frustrated, that I'm annoyed, that I'm sad, whatever, and letting them help me bring myself out of that. But then also, like, I have to have confidence in myself. Like, Aleka, you are worth it. And like, read my resume to myself. Like, right? So I think those are some of the ways that helps.
We'll take one more. Yes.
Thank you, Aleka, for sharing your story. I can tell that through the ups and downs, you had to go through a lot of pivots and transitions. How did you get yourself unstuck creatively, especially during those low moments? That can be a place that a lot of us can get stuck in or frozen in, if you will.
Absolutely. So a couple different things. As a photographer, I try to do a lot of passion projects. So I'll reach out to people and say, hey, go get your makeup done, meet me at the studio at this time, or meet me downtown at this time. And it allows me to not think about a styled shoot or making sure that I am providing a service to someone. It allows me to just get behind my camera and have fun. So that is, like, for me as a photographer, that's my number 1. And then 2, as a blogger, is writing out what I'm going through. But again, I always try to find points that can turn back into positive, because I don't want to be a person who's only like sharing all the negative and all the bad. I try to be like, this is what I'm going through, this is what sucks, this is what's frustrating, and then here's how I'm working through it. So for me as a creative, I do those 2 things. I try to write, and I am not a writer. I don't know how I got a journalism degree, because I am a terrible writer, like terrible. But I write, and then I just try to get in front of my camera or behind my camera. And actually sometimes I'll reach out to other photographers and be like, hey, do you want to shoot me? Like, I just feel like being creative on the other side. And those are some of the ways that as a creative I do that. So, yeah.
Who feels like they want Aleka as their personal hype man? Like, honestly, after today, I'm feeling like I can do it, you know? Well, Aleka, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to leave up on here our last slide for save the date for that March 11th date. We hope to see you then, and have an awesome weekend. Drive safe. Thank you so much, everyone.